Well, here we are, Thoughts from the Office, Redneck's Pride Outdoors. We're in the final, what I call the final phase of eviction. And this can be quite difficult at the best. And there's a few reasons for that. Number one, the pups can be 10, 12 weeks old. She may be getting ready to start taking them out to do their training as far as her circuit goes, their home territory. And so they're older, they're bigger, but this also means that 10 to 12 weeks old or so, and she's had 10 to 12 weeks of natural harassment already, whether you realize it or not. I tell people all the time, I can almost guarantee you weekly, at least weekly, once a week, if she's been in there with her pups, stink and fly, if she's been in there with her pups, that there has been at least one boar a week standing at her door. And she's probably fended him off or showed him that, you know, it's not a good thing to come in here. So she's at the point now to where this is just old hat, you know? It's just part of the nature. I use the equivalent of if you live in a area which is got negative impacts, either criminally, gang-wise, or whatever, and if you live in that area, you get used to it. You just learn what to look for. You just learn to adapt, if you will. The people who do not live in a crime-ridden area, the people who are not used to bullies and people picking on you, you don't know how to handle that scenario. But people who are always bullied, or people who are in crime-ridden areas, they know how to deal with that scenario on a daily basis, on a minute basis. Not that they like it, it's just they know how to deal with it. And that's the same way with her. She's gotten to the point to where she knows what's a threat and what's not a threat. The young are older, and they can scatter. So in other words, when danger comes, at this point, they can sense the danger, and they're going to take off in different directions or whatever. So it's harder to make her want to leave the house when she's been in there for 12 weeks and knows how to deal with the problems. So in order to make this phase work, this is where I say to people, absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, you need to put physical harassment on her. You and your product. And your blockage. Meaning temporary blockage, or make her think she's blocked. You got to convince her that this site is no longer safe. In human nature, we like to simplify things. We like to say, all you got to do is this, or all I do is that, or this is all you need to do. Why? In a nutshell, we're lazy. In a nutshell, we don't want to think. We don't want to look at the scenario and try to figure it out. We want to just go through magical motions. Just do what you got to do, how you got to do it, when you got to do it. All right? I'll do something different when I see that I have to. And that's all fine and dandy if you like spinning tires. All right, so in this phase here, another problem that we have is a lot of times, especially in my area, a lot of times I could have pups that are 12 weeks old, ready to leave, and I can have pups that's 1 week old, just born. And you see that in more, you'll see that in areas where you have high raccoon densities, with high denning spots, meaning developed areas, housing developments, cities, towns where there's buildings and all that type of stuff, where they can have multiple den sites, where there's den sites all over the place. So when you couple that with a lot of den sites and a high raccoon population, you will tend to see that the birthing period is over a portion of time. It's not uncommon for my area for me to have pups with their eyes not open or just opened in July and August. I didn't say it was common, I said it wasn't uncommon. In other words, I never stopped looking for raccoon pups until October. Now, it doesn't mean I go in the attic looking for them, but I question my customer to look for the telltale signs of raccoon pups. Are they there every night? Is she in one spot? Is it in one spot? Is it there a lot of times? Is there chattering going on? Is there scratching? Is there, all the little questions that you've got to learn to ask to figure out if you got pups. You don't have to go in the attic to find out if you got pups. If you know how to ask your questions the proper way to your customer will, in fact, tell you if she's got pups, probably 90% of the times, he or she. And that's a whole different video just on what questions to ask and how to figure out what you're looking at. But in August, if I say to the customer, when do you hear it? And they say last night. How often do you hear it? Every night. How long have you been hearing it? For 3 weeks. Did you hear it every night prior to that? No, it just started up. Well, good indication that there may be pups up there. So when we're getting into this last single phase of eviction, this is where I really start to make things difficult for the sow raccoon. This is where I still will use tape a lot, but I really will use aluminum over the entry point. And I take the back of the aluminum that's going to be facing in, and I put duct tape across the back. So if I got a 6-inch hole or a 4-inch hole, I'll take a 4-inch hole, I'll take an 8-inch by 8-inch piece of aluminum. And on the back of that aluminum, I'm going to put duct tape. The reason I put the duct tape there is I can smear my eviction product on that duct tape. It's a holder, if you will. Okay? Then when I put it up against the hole, if it's in the side of a house or on a whatever flap or whatever roof, I'm going to put 2 screws at the top of that piece of aluminum, and I'm going to make it a one-way door. I do that a lot. That's one of the things when I show people, you don't need that square wire box sticking out from the house with the door to make a one-way door. There's all kinds of ways to make one-way doors. I call it a flush one-way door. All right? And I put 2 screws in the top. And what that actually does is it secures the top of the aluminum, but the bottom can still be pushed out. And because it's a flat piece of aluminum, it's got a spring to it, or if it's on your roof, it's got a spring to it. If you're on the roof, you want to come down and you want to put a little bend down so it comes down under the edge of the roof like that. So when it comes back down, they can't just lift it up. They don't see just to lift it up, in other words. So if they're inside, okay, and it's on a roof like this, they can push here, lift it up, squeeze out. They're getting all the eviction paste and stuff on their face, their hand, their paws, and what have you. And if they go back, if they're able to get back in, when they're able to pick it up and go back in for their pups. All right. Yeah, let me rephrase that. You want her to go back in, so you're not using you're just using a little bit of a lip. She can still get back in other words. You understand what I'm saying there? All right. You wanted a one-way door. But then what I do is I take tape and I'll put tape across it in a couple different spots. So it's not easily, if she's inside, it's not easily pushed out or pushed up. She's got to really apply pressure to it to get out. I want her to think she's stuck. Okay, now you're not taping it down so hard that she can't get out. You're just taping it down to where she's got to really push to get out. And in this final phase, I'm definitely going into that attic if I can get there. And I am definitely putting eviction product on her runs. I typically use tape balls with a napkin on it, but you don't have to have the napkin on it. You can just use the regular tape ball, make a tape ball, and just smear your eviction stuff on it, and just drop that in the runs itself. Okay, if you can find where the young are at, drop one down in there. A lot of guys use tennis balls. I'm too cheap to buy tennis balls. It's cheaper it's just easier to go with the tape ball. I can just make a tape ball the size of a golf ball, and that's fine. Okay. Drop that down into the hole where the pups are at also. If you can't get to the pups, then bore or cut a hole, get a tape ball up there with them pups. You want that raccoon I want that raccoon to fear me more than she fears the eviction paste, or in my case, coon be gone. I want her to fear me more than that one. Hey, listen, like I told you, for 12 weeks, she's been dealing with danger. She's been dealing with boar raccoons every time she goes out. She's been dealing with this. This is just part of her life. So you've got to make her think that boar is inside. A lot of guys are using coyote. A lot of guys are using fox urine. That's fine. Listen, I ain't going to lie to you. I've used my urine. All right? I have. When in need, do what you gotta. Okay? There's been times I'll take a rag. But not times, always. I take a rag or a napkin and I wick my body scent, my odor on that rag. And I throw that down with the pups. I put that in the I make my odor is everywhere. If I go into the attic, I am going to every nook and cranny in there. I am putting my smell everywhere in there. I'm making noises. I'm doing everything I possibly can. And if I can do the vocals, get her to come, and I got a pole snare in my hand and I can give her a waffle or try to catch her, that's even better. This time of year is the hardest time for eviction. Once she has got them out and she's on a circuit, I find that eviction products don't work that well anymore. And the reason is every den she goes to has got the smell of boars in them or other raccoons. And what we find is she'll be on that circuit. Now that circuit could be 2 to 4 square miles. which again, I laugh because people argue with me constantly on this. And I say every raccoon has a circuit. Once they are on the circuit mindset, mode, phase, whatever you want to call that, they are not going to be in that house every night. Guys argue. And I say, put a trail camera up in there. Put a trail camera at the hole. And what you're going to see is if you're going to have a raccoon that you're going to be able to identify. Okay? And if she's had pups in there, then you don't have multiple raccoons going in and out of that hole. And you're going to see that once she leaves, you'll probably see her come back every 3 to 5 days or more. If you go to a regular season where you have regular season meaning summer, you have a boar with no pups, a sow with no pups, and the customer calls you out, you put a camera up, you're going to see your male raccoons in my area, I don't know about your area, but my area, you're going to see that the male, the boar raccoon, is going to be on an 8 to 10 day schedule. 1 or 2 days there, go on 8 to 10. And the female with pups is going to be a 3 to 5. And barren females, meaning females that do not have pups, are going to be on a 5 to 8. This is so real for me in my area that it makes me look like a god when I predict when I'm going to catch the raccoon or when it's going to be back. Your area is going to be different. Now, here's what a lot of guys will say. I see raccoons every day. Yeah, but they're not the same ones. I can almost guarantee you that. If there are pups in that house, there's only one adult raccoon going in and out of that house. If it's a big building, I guess it could be different. But you know, in that house, there's only going to be one sow raccoon and her pups. I have jobs that I catch 5, 6, 7, 10, 15 raccoons. Yes, absolutely. I love them jobs. But most of the time, those jobs are going to happen from August till February. And the majority of those raccoons are going to be boars. And what I find is, for most times, when you put a camera up, it's only one raccoon going in, spending the night, coming out, and then another one comes in, maybe the next night or 2 nights later, and it goes back out. Learn the raccoon yearly. That's why on my 6 phases of the raccoon training that I give, I go 1 full year of habits and behaviors. Why? Because in urban work, in wildlife work, in suburban work, in ADC work, we never know what phase we can be in. Your raccoon's living out in the back 40, and she has pups in August. If you're up in the northern portion of the country, where by October it is dropping down into below freezing at night, those pups aren't going to make it. Down south they may, but not up north. But in your attic, pups born in August can make it. They can make it straight on through to November till they're big enough to go out and be able to fend for themselves a little bit out in the wild, and the mother is carrying it on until she comes back into heat. Now, people will say, well, she's going to come back into heat in January. No, if she gave birth, chances are if she gave birth to the late litter, she's not going to come back into heat until late January or February. All right, so hopefully this is of some interest to you. I don't know if it's beneficial to you or not, but hopefully it's of some benefit to you. This is what I've learned from doing wildlife control since 1979. Figuring this stuff out on my own at first, making mistakes, then like a godsend, going to these outings or befriending other people in the wildlife control and gleaning off of them what they've learned. And in today's world now, you just ask a question, push a button, and you've got 40 different people telling you what they think. And all you got to do is wade through the BS. I didn't mean to say it that way. All right, I'm going to leave it here. Thoughts from the office, Redneck Spine Outdoors. I'll catch you later.